Welcome to Your Food Looks Funny. I am Marcus T, and today's episode is about cereal killing.
I'm not eating that.
I'm eating that. All right, so back with another episode. Back with some more information. Maybe some things you didn't notice about that breakfast treat you've been eating. Okay. Had a little bit of inspiration for this one. It's just me this week. Had to focus in on this one. So like I said, some cereal killing. No, not the way it may have sounded, but, trying to create some puns around here. So bear with me. But I've had this fascination with cereal recently. Cereal with a C, not with an S, people. If you haven't gotten it yet, we're talking about breakfast cereal. Breakfast cereal. So I've had this fascination recently. As I normally do, I combed the aisles of the grocery store and I ran into a cereal that I had never seen before. It was this Quaker Oat Squares cereal, and they had a honey nut version of it. And I'm a sucker for a good honey nut version of cereal. More to come on that. But for now, Honey Nut Oat Squares. Fantastic cereal. Fantastic cereal. A little bit of backstory. I'm not a morning person, so when I eat cereal, it's normally not morning. Also, as a child, you may have heard this on previous episodes. If this is your first episode, welcome. But I was not a fan of milk on my cereal. I would eat dry cereal and chase it with milk simply because I don't like soggy cereal. And I didn't eat fast enough to ensure that my entire bowl of cereal would be eaten without becoming soggy.
Come on.
And for that reason alone, I would avoid eating cereal simply because it always tasted the same to me. And a little bit more on that. I didn't like sugary cereals. Mom would buy me not cornflakes. Mom would buy me Frosted Flakes. Another thing on that coming too. Mom would buy me Frosted Flakes. And after a while, I would realize I was just getting so hype midday after eating these Frosted Flakes that I just couldn't stand it anymore. My brain would be buzzing after I had these things. So I just kind of fell out of love with cereal. And then Mom discovered these Honey Nut Chex, and I loved those things. Loved them. And then I just started eating them really fast in order to ensure that I could eat them with milk. And then when I went to college for a year, I had these Reese's peanut butter puffs that I liked, as long as I could, spritz a little milk at a time and then eat it. I have a complicated relationship with cereal, to say the least. So moving forward to today, I now have a bunch of cereals that are like semi-sweet. So the Honey Nut Oat Squares just have that touch of sweetness. I found some Kashi cereal that's flavored like French toast. And I like eating sweet granola with yogurt, but none of the stuff that I'm about to talk to you about today. I did a quick Google search just because I was curious, and I wanted to see what the top cereals of America are. What are the favorites in this country? And I really couldn't get any statistical answers that gave me a clear and concise answer on this. But the same 5 kept popping up in everybody's list near the top. So these are the 5 I'm going to do. There's no specific order. There was no scientific data behind this. Some were by sales, some were by surveys. I ain't got time to do all of that. I'm just going to pick what I saw, and we just going to roll with it. So I'm going to name off 5 cereals and some things you may not have noticed about them, and also how I feel about the cereal in general. I kind of made the reference of I don't really like sugary cereals in the first place, and some of these hit that mark. Others do not, but they still have questionable tags attached to them. So number 1 that we're going to talk about is Honey Nut Cheerios. Honey Nut Cheerios came up a lot of times as America's favorite. Cheerios in general, I'm sure you've seen a commercial that deals with this cereal. It's just the round O's of oats, and they have so many different versions of this cereal. You may think that they're just trying to brainwash you with these O's of greatness, but in particular, Honey Nut Cheerios kept coming up because it has 9 times the sugar of regular Cheerios. Let me start there. 9 times the amount of sugar inside those Cheerios. And I just watched a documentary the other day on how honey is produced and how scarce it's becoming and how people are augmenting honey, basically making it fake. So when you get cheap honey in the store, it's usually not honey. It's usually some concoction of syrup that they messed up anyway. So I didn't really dive too much into General Mills and making sure that they are all on the up and up, but we're just going to assume that there's actually honey in the Honey Nut Cheerios. Another major thing that I noticed about this particular cereal, Honey Nut Cheerios, in 2006, Apparently, they took the actual nuts away from Honey Nut Cheerios. And I just read this, literally. I just read this when I did the search. And then I thought back to eating Cheerios as a teenager before this, and then eating them since. Remember they used to have the little crunchy pieces on the outside? Those were the actual nuts. They took them away and they added the flavorings of it. Are you kidding me, General Mills? Are you kidding me? You're taking away from the texture. I get they're crunchy. I get it. But if you're going to have Honey Nut Cheerios, and if you look at anybody's Honey Nut anything, Honey Nut Chex, like they take away the nuts from it. It's just honey and some flavorings. Look here, people. Peanuts and stuff aren't that strong of a taste that I'm going to notice it's there beyond the honey. Once you get to the sugar, nothing else matters. It doesn't matter what else is in the cereal once you get past the sweetness. You've done me a disservice if I ever decide to go back and eat a bowl of Honey Nut Cheerios. It's going to be purely out of desperation, simply because now I'm going to be looking at the O's, shaking my head, saying, why aren't there any nuts on these O's? And you know what I got to say to that?
I'm not eating that.
That is correct. You will no longer be in my bowl. Moving on to the next cereal, Frosted Flakes. I mentioned this a second ago, but Frosted Flakes, one of the things that I never noticed, and I'm sure plenty of people noticed this, it was just my hesitancy to see them for what they were. They're made by Kellogg's, okay? There are major cereal brands out there. Kellogg's, General Mills, Post, and a few others. Anywho, Kellogg's makes these. My uncle used to live there where they produce Kellogg's in Battle Creek, Michigan. Shout out to Battle Creek. But Kellogg's Frosted Flakes, right? I don't think of the Kellogg's when I think of Frosted Flakes. They're just Frosted Flakes. But you think of another cereal when you hear Kellogg's. Corn Flakes. I did not realize for years, people, years, I'm talking into my 20s, that Frosted Flakes were just corn flakes with a sugary coating. Don't crucify me over this. I just didn't notice it. Okay, it just snuck by me. And to this day, I still don't really associate them as being cousins or brothers or whatever they are. Like, Tony's a tiger, people. Tony's a tiger, and cornflakes are represented by a rooster whose name is Cornelius. And I learned that from my dad because they have the same name. Very clever. Very clever, Kellogg's. Cornelius for cornflakes. I get it. But how do you get a tiger for a corn? No kid. If you're marketing this to kids, which you're not marketing cornflakes to kids. So the old man eating cornflakes, shout out to the old man who's eating cornflakes, or maybe the young guy who's eating cornflakes, do you. But Frosted Flakes, kids want the tiger. They want the tiger. They don't want the rooster. Okay, we went to Key West. We went to Key West one time, and they have roosters walking around everywhere, just wild, like pigeons. And they're just crowing all day, every day. And you can't touch them. You can't do anything with them. And I was like, these things are so annoying. Just like cornflakes. Frosted Flakes, though, if you see a tiger roaming around, the day is probably exciting. Okay? You're either fighting for your life or you're at the zoo. One or the other, you're getting an adrenaline boost. So people want to be around the tiger, or they're going to run from it. But you just want to kick the rooster. But you can't because it's wildlife protected. So I'm not an animal cruelty person. I'm just letting you know. The roosters ain't doing nothing for me. The tiger is going to make the day exciting, though. So, Tony, you're winning. But I'm not a big fan of sugary cereal, so it's not really on my list. But Frosted Flakes are just sugary cornflakes. Some of you are like, duh, Marcus, and others are like, didn't really pay that any attention. Probably because they're not eating it either. The next cereal that we're going to talk about is a complete change from what we're talking about. So the first two were just, healthier versions of cereal that have been sugared up. Little sweetener added to it. Okay, this one went a little overboard. So we're talking Lucky Charms here, people. Lucky Charms is only made by the marshmallows that it contains. That is the only thing is in it. It's just like little bits of luck in sugar form. Because who cares about the rest of the cereal? I don't even know what it is. What is it made out of? I didn't even look it up. It says made with whole grain ingredients. Like, what is it? Like, if you took all the marshmallows out of a bowl of Lucky Charms, would you even recognize that it's Lucky Charms cereal? There's no leprechaun in the world that will convince me to eat this. I may have had a spoonful of this in my entire life. Frosted toasted oat cereal with marshmallows. No, I've never looked into what this stuff is made out of. So not only does it have marshmallows in it, the oat cereal is also frosted. If anybody's seen the front cover of the Lucky Charms box, it's got the leprechaun on the front, and he looked like somebody just gave him the adrenaline shot from Crank. If you've ever seen that movie with Jason Statham, he looks like he's about to take off running like Dash from The Incredibles. That's what your kids are going to be doing after they have a bowl of this cereal. And if they fill it up the way he's filled up this pot on the front of the cover, that's what they're going to be doing. Okay? So if you ever get a kid like me that looks at this bowl of cereal and hits one of these,
I'm not eating that.
Thank God that you are now about to have a slightly more mellow child that you don't have running around like the Tasmanian devil. Lucky Charms. And as you can tell, this is an episode based off of cereal, yes. And I gave you the ones that I like at the beginning. But this show is for picky eaters, right? Well, let me be picky. So we've talked about Honey Nut Cheerios. We talked about Frosted Flakes. Lucky Charms. We got one more on the kind of sugary realm here. And a thing to point out about this. So we're talking Fruit Loops. Fruit Loops, people. There's one major thing about Fruit Loops that I want to point out. Other than the fact that Toucan Sam has changed in the commercials recently. I don't know if anybody noticed that. We got a new Toucan Sam. It's like the other one got aged out. Like, really? We got ageism in the cartoon cereal character imagery? Tony's still around. You couldn't keep Toucan Sam, younger without making him a completely different voice. I get it. It happens. It's a whole nother world behind the scenes on voicing these characters. But, it's tough to see your favorite people go, especially when they're cartoon characters. You think they're just going to be around forever. I was going to follow my nose to the commercial, but not to an actual bowl of this cereal. So Fruit Loops is natural fruit flavors, it says on the box. It's multi-grain cereal, but all of the cereal is a different color. When you see multi-grain bread, is it red? No. But these are fruits, okay? Speaking of fruits, when you look at a box of Fruit Loops, how many people notice that the word fruit is purposely misspelled with two O's? Fruit. F-R-O-O-T, Loops, L-O-O-P-S, just so they could use a bunch of different colored ring O's of cereal to spell it. I'm telling you, just making your child a worse speller than they're already going to be in the first place. The child that makes it to the script spelling bee is not a child that eats Fruit Loops. He might be one that eats the next cereal, but not Fruit Loops. The next cereal, now that I've brought it up, is the only one on the list that doesn't have a lot of extra added artificial sugars, but it does have a sugary source inside of it. And that cereal is Raisin Bran. When I worked in the kitchen and we had to keep storages of little boxes of cereal for the buffet, the one we ordered the least was probably Raisin Bran because nobody was eating this stuff. I don't know who the person is that is eating Raisin Bran or ordering Raisin Bran in order to keep them in business with Post. I think that's who makes it. No, it is Kellogg's. So Kellogg is basically running the cereal world with the same cereal. They got Frosted Flakes, which are sugary corn flakes, and then they got Raisin Bran, which is basically a wheat version or a bran. I don't know. I think I just confused myself right there. Toasted bran flakes. Sorry. Bran flakes. So it's like corn flakes made out of bran. I don't even know what bran is. I'm not going to claim to know what bran is. And I'm not going to look up what bran is because
I'm not eating that.
That is correct. Anyways, they say they have 2 scoops of raisins in every bowl. I don't want 1 raisin in this. Raisins are disgusting. Grapes are fantastic, but raisins are disgusting, and they are one and the same. One is a dehydrated version of the other, but somehow they figured out a way to make grapes disgusting. And then throw it into a cereal that they wanted me to eat in the morning. I don't care how much fiber in the world that I need. It won't come from Raisin Bran. Okay? Keep it. Keep all of it. But these Quaker oatmeal squares, and I'm not even sponsored by them, but if they want to give a brother a call, I'm here. Honey Nut oatmeal squares, we can ride out. Everything else is not on the list. Honey Bunches of Oats gets an honorable mention on here, and I only give it an honorable mention simply because they had some of the most iconic commercials like 15, 20 years ago with the lady that actually worked in the factory. And she was like, we got to feed America. My mom was a huge fan of hers being on commercials because she was funny without knowing she was funny. So shout out to Honey Bunches of Oats. I like them too. And other than that, no other cereal I really even care about talking about. I mentioned what I mentioned. I said what I said. Let me know what your favorites are. I'm going to post some stuff on social media asking about your cereals. Feel free to comment. Let me know if I missed something about somebody's favorite cereal that you love to get a buzz off early in the morning. Milk or no milk, people? Are you a dry cereal eater like I used to be? Do you like soggy cereal? Are you that kind of psychopath that, really might be a serial killer and you just like soggy cereal? It's all good. If you're that guy or that person, you be that person. But if not, do you. Anywho, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up today. I got another episode coming up soon dealing with some breakfasty items that I'll talk about. Check out the website, yourfoodlooksfunny.com. Donate to the show. We met our goal for the microphone, but now I'm looking to get Adobe Audition to help edit these shows even faster for you guys. Check out the social media, all the previous episodes, and we'll see you guys next week. All right.